Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Blue Bounty Hunter channel. Now try and imagine a space battle in the Galactic Civil War without the capital ships. It's pretty hard, isn't it? Because it turns out these massive vessels are crucial for ship-to-ship fire, carriers for smaller starfighters, and also orbital bombardment. So crazy enough, when we look at these military groups on the timeline, there's actually more than just Venators and Star Destroyers, and today I'll go over the most catastrophic of each, like the Eclipse Star Destroyer, created at Palpatine's request, and if you knew that one, you deserve a prize.
This deal is getting worse all the time.
Starting off with the Separatists, we have the Lucre Hulk class battleship, which was the capital ship of the Trade Federation's defense force that would later be used in the Clone Wars. These were originally designed as freighters for the Federation that aided from the mammoth hangar bays on each side of the exposed section of the outer ring. The flagship was manufactured by Horsch Kessel Drive and was 3,000 by 3,000 meters or 9,000 by 9,000 feet, with a Class 2 hyperdrive and Class 10 backup hyperdrive. Its appearance looks something like a donut with a core ship in the middle that housed the bridge and reactor assemblies. And of course, in the bridge is where the droids would be controlled, like we see at the Battle of Naboo. Before the Clone Wars, these ships were still extremely powerful and difficult to destroy after further shield and armor were added over the years. The success was mainly due to the quad turbo laser cannons that could rotate inwards while not being used, and this behemoth still had flaws though, which was confirmed when Anakin flew his starfighter through one of the massive hangars and accidentally blew up the reactor, which demolished the entire ship from the inside out. Once the Clone Wars went underway, even more strong shielding was added, and these ships were refitted with additional quad laser cannons, as well as point defense quad laser batteries, turbo lasers, and assault laser cannons all over the outside. So they were basically just converted into this insanely powerful ship with all these guns all over the place. This helped the Separatists out in moments of the war, like the Battle of Coruscant, which also benefited from the high number of vulture droids and other craft that could fit in the huge hangars. And in case you think the low maneuverability and odd shape of this ship is enough to put it below some of the other CIS ships, keep in mind that this vessel required the Republic to send an entire flotilla of Venators to match it. Other capital ships like the Munificent, on the other hand, would only be a fraction of one Venator. That just goes to show how impressive the Lucre Hulk really was, that it needed all of those Venators to match it. Which is also pretty crazy when you take into consideration that this was used way before the Clone Wars, and it still was one of the best. So these definitely aren't like the main capital ships of the Separatists, and there are a few other flagships they used, but a lot of them do tend to be very small in size, and this one is very big and had so many guns and just obviously was a big threat. Even if it had a lot of money probably going into it, the fact that it required that many Venators just to match it goes as far as to say that it was a good ship. Now just to quickly go over the Republic, I picked the Venator as it was the backbone of the Republic. Basically, this was 3,280 feet long and had an armament of 8 double-barreled DBY 827 heavy turbo laser turrets, and also the AV-7 anti-vehicle artillery cannon that were aimed perpendicular to the length of the ship. And I know the Venator has the big flaw of the upper hangar, but all I'm saying is, like, what is my boy the Acclamator gonna do if he gets jumped by a bunch of Munificents? Nothing, that's right. And yeah, basically the Acclamators, they were very good and they could carry way more troops and stuff, but I don't think they really had the best defense systems all around. So for the Empire, on the other hand, I picked the Executor class Super Star Destroyer, and one of these Star Dreadnoughts was the Executor flown by Darth Vader. These were 19,000 meters or 62,000 feet, and they were manufactured between Cott Drive yards as well as Fondor shipyards with 50 engines and a crew of 280,000. It also has a Class 1 hyperdrive and a titanium reinforced reinforced hull made with alusteel, as well as a bridge area that showed a larger, more complex variant of the original Star Destroyer variant. There was also 5,000 turbo lasers on top of the additional firepower of 750 twin heavy turbo laser batteries, and many more guns that would have no point in me naming, as they are just numbers and words, man. Just numbers and words. The Executor class Star Destroyer also had many other ships and all-terrain walkers aboard, like its 144 TIE fighters of different variation, and also its 24 AT-ATs and 50 AT-STs. And I don't know about you, but I guess I kind of assumed that like a normal Star Destroyer would carry this much stuff. Maybe not quite 144 TIE fighters, but like 100 or so. But yeah, as it turns out, I guess they were more expensive and they didn't have as much hangar area as I would have originally thought. That's as much as could fit on this big boy, and the two prototypes of this ship were the Star Dreadnought Assault prototype, as well as the Star Dreadnought Command prototype, which was all caused by Vader pushing the class into production. Grand General Cassio Tag commanded one known as the Annihilator until a massive failure where Palpatine handed his fleet over to Darth Vader, who would execute him shortly after, even though Tag was basically pleading for his life and trying to explain how he was still useful, but I don't think that's gonna work on Darth Vader, bud. Next up for the Rebellion, I've chosen the MC-80 Star Cruiser, or Mon Calamari Star Cruiser, which is probably the one of the largest ships used by the Rebellion during the Galactic Civil War. And going off of the Home 1, which is the ship used by Admiral Akbar, this was a slightly modified version of the MC-80 that was extremely useful. The Home 1 was 4,265 feet, which is almost as long as a standard Star Destroyer. The vessel was originally constructed as a deep space explorer that was retrofitted for military service. It was also highly durable with heavy hull plating and triple strength shields, which is good when we take in the fact that it was even larger than the other MC-80 variant. As the main rebel ship at Endor, it would of course have to be very important to have lots of space for starfighters, and luckily this bad boy had it covered with the 20 hangars that could be used for all other warships and spacecraft, as we see in episode 6 when Han talks to Lando in the hangar. The Home 1 also had turbo laser cannons and ion cannons, as well as several tractor beam projectors for its armament. There were at least 2 sections of this Alliance ship that could split off from the rest and serve as escape craft or fully independent attack craft, but Gail Akbar preferred to keep everything together. Not only was the command crew completely Mon Calamari, but originally there were passageways throughout the ship with water for the Mon Calamari to swim through, but this was changed above Endor's forest moon for the sake of the rest of the crew. This would have been pretty cool to actually see these passageways and see the Mon Calamari swimming through them. I mean, can you imagine Admiral Akbar just swimming through one of these things? That would have been pretty cool to see, but it does make sense when you think about it. This capital ship was at the first official gathering for the Rebel Alliance above Tatooine, and was also the new headquarters once the secret base on Hoth was discovered by the Empire. The Nebulon frigate ship was considerably less effective as it was originally designed to be a medical frigate and was also very small in comparison to Star Destroyers. And oh, turns out these guys are literally less than a fifth of the size of a Star Destroyer. Look at the little baby Nebulon. That's crazy. So really the Mon Calamari ship was extremely impressive for its size and stuff. It doesn't even have the best armament. It really was just a great headquarters, and pretty intimidating too, if I had to guess, for the Imperials, since they probably weren't used to Star Cruisers being quite that large. And as much as this will surely anger a large portion of the Star Wars fandom, for the end of the video, I'll briefly look at the First Order.
It does not exist.
For their Supremacy Star Destroyer. This was a mega-class dreadnought manufactured by Kot Intrala Engineering that had the insane width of 60,000 meters or 196,000 feet. It served as the flagship of Supreme Leader Snoke, and this was the mobile capital or headquarters of the First Order, which resided in the unknown regions, and was the largest capital ship in galactic history, according to Wikipedia, though I would assume this only applies to canon cannon. It was also equipped with 32 sublight engines and also had 6 fusion reactors, which gave it increased damage resistance. Also, it could fit an additional 6 Resurgent class Star Destroyers, which were the Star Destroyers that the First Order usually used in the aft and interior areas of the wings, which on top of the 2 million personnel and thousands of heavy turbo lasers made it very formidable. And I know a lot of you guys hate the sequels, but you have to admit that this Star Destroyer is just as cool as some of the sick Legend Star Destroyers like the Eclipse or even the Bellator. But speaking of Legend Star Destroyers, we also have my favorite, which is the Vengeance class Star Destroyer, which I wanted to briefly talk about. And just like the Executor class ships, these were 19,000 meters or 62,000 feet in length, but had a more slender frame shaped more like a sword than a dagger like the usual Star Destroyer. They carry TIE fighters and assault shuttles, as well as similar armaments to the Executor capital ships, so you know, heavy and standard turbo lasers, all that kind of stuff. They also had a cluster of engines containing 3 primary, 2 secondary, and 6 auxiliary ones surrounding the primaries. The bridge was located on a small square ridge located near the stern of the ship in a block-looking building. The Dark Jedi Jarek used one of these as his flagship, which is likely why it was identical to the Executors, other than its slimness, so that wouldn't compete with Vader. Also, in 10 ABY, 3 Vengeance class Star Destroyers were the leads of a task force sent from the deep core to invade other core planets, one of which being the Javelin. It first appeared in the Essential Guide to Warfare and was also considered as a flagship of Kylo Ren in unused The Rise of Skywalker concept art. I just always really liked the shape of this one, and I just think it has a cool design. Now, admittedly, the height is a little bit jarring because it is so thin, but I do still think it looks really cool. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. I upload every Friday and sometimes on Sunday too at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, I post shorts on Saturday, but yeah, see you.